So I moved from Florida to Hawaii. Um, I had it in my mind. I pretty much lived in Florida all my life, and I needed to go. Um, it was at a point where I was just. I felt that something was missing, and I needed to be away from everything that I've ever known. Just in a sense, you kind of say I probably was running away. Um, and I gotten to the point where I wanted to be. I need to go. So I packed up everything and drove cross country to California, put all my stuff on a ship, and flew to Hawaii. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't know a single soul in Hawaii. Never been there before in my life. I just was like, you know what? If all else fails, I know how to get home. And but I needed to be isolated, if that makes sense. You know, you've lived your life to a point where you just you're saying to yourself, there's got to be more. And I've been in my previous career for about almost 20 years, telling my age there. So what I decided to do when I got there was figure out what did I want. And I didn't need pressures of like family members and things that I've always known. I just needed just to be stripped away. Now, this was one of the most scariest things that I'd ever done in my life. Those first 2 months was literally like terrifying there. I had nowhere to run to. I couldn't like, oh, I'm going to go down to my mama's house or to my sister. You had nowhere to run. It was just you. So I started tearing away like things that people have told you. You know, you try to live your life like, okay, work hard. You live your life a certain way. You know, try to, you know, accomplish these things, and it just wasn't. It just didn't. It just didn't feel complete, if that makes sense. So while I was there, I noticed a lot of those things just kind of like it was falling off. It was like it was shedding off, and it was like asking yourself, now, what do you want to do? Who are you? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know. You know, I've been told this is how you're supposed to live your life, and this is who you're supposed to be, and this is how you're supposed to act, and this is that and the other, and stuff like that. And it was just like, nobody's around. So what is it that you want? And I started remembering that 11-year-old girl. And I was like, okay, let's make a story. So what I started doing was I started with animation. I started creating, you know, learning, self-taught, rigging models, using like Reallusion, you know, creating a story in my head. So what I tried to do was create a story called, well, it wasn't a story per se. I was going to do an animated talk chat. And you know, you learn how to design, do sets and stuff like that, you know, on the computer and everything else. And I absolutely loved it. And I did like the first couple of runs or whatever, and I sent it to this guy in San Francisco. And I was like, all right, I'm new at this, I'm self-taught, you're a professional. And it was just a nice guy. I ended up on the internet and just had him look at it. He was like, okay, darling, I see what you're doing. You need to write a script. And I'm like, script? And he's like, yes. Even though this is a talk show, it still needs to be in some type of sequence orders. And I remember him telling me this. He goes, it needs to be in sequence orders. All stories, have a sequence that it needs to go. He goes, even your talk show needs to have beginning, this, and that. So I was like, ooh, okay. So where do you start with that? I'm a natural researcher, so books. I started reading. The interesting thing is the more I read and I started putting things on paper, learning how to structure different things like that. The script I ended up writing wasn't for the talk show. I ended up creating a television pilot, and for whatever reason, I can visualize it. I can visualize it all the way through like the next 5 seasons. But these were characters that I created, from dialogue to settings and everything else, to, the conflicts and all that stuff like that. And I can honestly say I started getting back in touch with the creative mind from that little girl when she was 11. And then it started to grow. And I was the happiest that I'd ever been doing something that I absolutely loved. I mean, I could get lost in this world for anywhere from like 12, 16 hours a day. And I found it. And that's what I attribute to Hawaii. Finding me. Finding the person that I guess I was supposed to be. Better late than never, right?